Hi, once again, welcome to one of my video tutorials. Now today, we're going to be working on a golden eagle. Now today in part 1, we'll start by painting that lovely green background. And that's all done through the wet in wet process. So let's get the brushes wet and let's get started. Now the first thing you need to do is get that outline drawing onto the paper. Now I've already done that, I've already done it off camera, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube and on my Patreon channel on how to draw out an image, how to kind of transfer it onto that watercolour paper. Now I want to put a bit of tape all the way around the edge of this box as well, so we get a nice straight edge, or straightish anyway. Now to make a start on the background, what you need to do, get nice and level, grab a little bit of paper, this is a spare offcut of watercolour paper, a milk bottle plastic lid, okay, trust me on this one, grab some masking fluid and pour a little bit of that inside that lid. Now if you do mix your masking fluid, don't shake it because it gets really bubbly. Then you'll end up with lots of bubbles within your fluid when you're trying to paint with it, or apply it should I say. Just use a cocktail stick or something like that to lightly mix it inside first. Mentioning cocktail sticks, I'll be using that one as well. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. And also colour shapener. Now there's different ways of applying masking fluid I know. You can use an old brush, so you can do that, because it can ruin brushes, so don't use a decent brush for it. So let's apply that to the paper first of all. Oh, one thing I've not done, get some tape and go around the outside edge of your box. And then, what we need to do is apply that masking fluid. Cocktail stick at the ready. So grab some masking fluid and start applying that to the paper. Look at that, lovely and smooth. It's not something I normally use to apply masking fluid, but I thought I'd give it a try today. Normally an old brush is good enough to be able to do this with. Then apply this all the way around the inside of the golden eagle. So we just call it eagle from now on. It's a bit easier, isn't it? Yeah. All the way around the inside, like that. Then when you get to these areas, which are very sort of spiky, where you can see the feathers sticking out underneath the chin there, put copious amount of masking fluid there first of all. Mostly keep it thin though, once it's harder to remove later on. Then with a cocktail stick, flick out a few lines in the direction the feathers go. And they sort of head towards 6 o'clock, between 6 and 7 o'clock direction, don't they, I'd say. Okay? You want to do this all the way around. Look for any areas which you've got to flick out some bits of masking fluid in places. Take your time, there's no rush. Oh, and also, by the way, just do small areas at a time like that. Especially when you've got to flick out some masking fluid, because it dries really, really quickly. Now whilst that's drying, which won't take long, we'll mix some colours up ready for that background. Now painting something like this is really good fun, isn't it? Especially when it's a wildlife subject. Now I've got well over 150 other watercolour wildlife subjects on my Patreon channel. I go through every single video right from the start all the way through to the end for you, show you how to do them as well. So if you fancy being spoiled for choice when looking for a wildlife subject to paint, have a look at the link in the description down below for my Patreon channel. Hopefully I'll see you there. Now I've been thinking about the background and what colours to use. Now when you look at that reference photograph, you can see that in the reference photograph you've got some lovely greens there. But it's kind of bursting out from the back of the golden eagle, isn't it? As if like a starburst. Now we can sort of replicate that in a way. I don't need to get that exactly the same, but something similar is what I'm looking for. So colour wise, I don't like to use too many colours to a background. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be using a mixture of lemon yellow, sap green and Payne's grey. Okay, so 3 colours. But the last 2, I'm going to also have a separate mix of those 2 together. I'll show you what I mean. Let's get my old mixing brush there. Look at the state of that, I know. But it works really well. Put a little bit of water, not much, to begin with anyway, within my mixing wells there. And also spray your paints up. If you're using half pans like me, come on, like missing probably about 10 minutes before you start. At least that way they'll be a little bit softer when you start mixing them up. So lemon yellow first of all. Make more than you think you'll need, because lo and behold, you won't have enough. And the last thing you want to be doing is mixing paint while this is drying on you. Now you want these mixes to be more of a milky consistency. Then remember to do the same using sap green and Payne's grey. So sap green, Payne's grey. I'm going to mix some sap green with the Payne's grey in this well as well, okay? And I'll come back to you when I'm doing that. Now that's darker, so sap green and Payne's grey. Probably equal amounts of each. What I might do during painting the background, I might just add a little bit more Payne's grey into that for those darker areas, especially around this top corner here, just down the side a little bit as well. Okay, that would be enough paint there, I think. Let's get ourselves a 1/2 inch mop brush. Okay, nice soft bristles on that one. Apply the water to the background, and you want to do this probably a couple of times. Let it soak in each time though, so put a full layer of water on there. We don't want it running down the paper like a waterfall. So apply the water on the paper, and then once it's soaked in for probably 1/2 minute or so, pop another layer over the top and allow that to soak in as well. When you actually put your head to one side of the paper, what you'll find is that you see the texture of the paper showing through, rather than like a thin layer of water floating on the top of the paper. Okay, and that's plenty to begin with. You'll also find the corner areas tend to dry the quickest. Don't know why that is, but they tend to. Then put your head to one side, look across the surface of the paper, and make sure you cover all that background up. Then just wait on 1/2 minute or so, okay? Allow it to soak in. Well, that should do, and it's soaked into the paper really well, that water. Now I can see that the paper's warped a little bit. Even though it's on a block pad, it still warps, but that will dry nice and flat after a while, which it always does. So quite nice really that it does that for me. Using an old size 18 brush, a very old ancient brush as you can see here, I'm going to start to apply this colour. So I'm going to dampen this brush down first of all though, don't let it completely dry. So first of all the yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow first of all around there. Then work my way around. You want to be fairly swift when you do this as well now. Don't take too long doing it. And then also down here as well. I want it fairly bright in this background. So it won't be the same as that reference photograph. I just want it similar more than anything. But try to maintain a lighter patch towards the outside edge of the eagle. A little bit more down here now. Now we know watercolour very often dries a little bit paler. How much paler depends on the amount of pigment that's obviously within the paints that you're using. So that's the yellow. As quick as that though. Now for the sap green. Apply that the same way, same technique. You can always blend this out as well. Get it on the paper first of all. Then you can start to play around with this and blend it. So you've got to be fairly swift with this really. Don't take too long. Then leaving little gaps in between here as well, just down the bottom, towards the eagle, a little bit around there. There's a bit more yellow down the bottom as well, probably a touch more around there. So what is slightly paler at the back there, that's it. Then for our mixture with the Payne's grey and sap green, that can go in the top corner here, like so. Leaving gaps in between again so it's not all the same. And then a little bit around here. So I didn't need all this paint, but it would be the case if you don't mix enough. you tend to run out, and then you've got to mix it while it's still wet on the paper. Grab a little bit more Payne's grey, add that in. Straight in there, look, I've got the Payne's grey in my half pan off camera here. We know the one now. just into this top corner and the side here. Mix it in with that paint on the paper. And then rinse that brush out very quickly. So you've got a clean damp brush, then blend out. Blend it. Just while the paper's still damp. Doesn't matter, you can bring some more green towards the golden eagle as well. Blend it in. You don't want any hard edges showing at all. Might put a little bit more Payne's grey towards this top corner here. Takes off the brush. Then lightly blend that. See how dry this brush is now, look? Just add a bit more colour into that area there. Now this paper's starting to dry. When that shine goes off that paper, that's when you want to kind of say, that's it, I'm stopping now. Because otherwise you'll end up with blemishes and cauliflower marks all over the paper, and you don't really want that to happen. So okay, down here at the moment, so just carry on down there just to blend it a little bit more. And I think that should just about do. Okay, grab some kitchen roll, give it a fold a few times. So like that, and like that. Then use that to clean up the edges now. Just make it a little bit tidier. So when this is dry within probably a couple of hours, they can make a start on painting this lovely golden eagle. Now I wouldn't advise drying this with a hairdryer or heat gun or anything like that. Because what can happen is that it can harden the masking fluid if you're not careful. And if that happens, then you find it very difficult to remove the masking fluid. Now that paint has just gone underneath my masking tape underneath here, like you can just see that, just seeps underneath. But hey ho, I'm not too worried about that. Then get a fresh corner and do the same on the top. Okay, I'll be back in a few seconds, but for me, it could be a couple of hours. Now where's that cup of coffee gone? Now then, that is lovely and flat and dry. So now we need to remove that masking fluid. I'm going to use a dry finger for that. Okay, kitchen roll, make sure it's nice and dry, no grease or oils on your fingers. Then roll the masking fluid in towards the eagle. Okay, it's that way around. If it does tear the paper, you want it to tear inside and you can cover that up with some paint. Rather than a nice softened background that we've got now. That has lightened a little bit, hasn't it? Which I thought it would do. Take your time, remove all that masking fluid. See how bitty this one is for this PBO. Look. Then all you need to do, once you've got all this off, is reposition your outline drawing or your reference photograph in the same little markers you've already made with that pencil. Look, there, and obviously at the bottom as well. And pop your graphite back paper underneath. If you haven't got graphite back paper, as you probably know, you can just use a soft leaded pencil on the back of that anyway. So that's going to go underneath, and then draw all the main details out within the eagle. Okay, right, let's get this done. I think that should just about do, to be honest with you. I've gone over the top of this with my pencil as well, but very lightly. This is that 2H lead, so it's got a very light line to it. So obviously because it's a harder lead, it doesn't give a dark line. And that should be plenty on there now. I just like to make sure I've got as much of the detail or structure as I can see within that photograph. Now I'm also glancing at my tablet in front of me as well, which has got the same photograph on that. and obviously that's clearer than this is. So it's worth doing that as well. So make sure you got the photograph nearby on a tablet, iPad or mobile phone, anything like that, just to ensure that you can keep double checking for certain areas. Now down this area actually on the tablet, it's really dark down there. I mean, it's really dark, like a very deep dark brown. But, you know, I can still see some details because I've lightened this printout. I can actually make out just a few of these feathers within that area. So I definitely want to paint those in, but they'll be toned down, they'll be darkened down and pushed back anyway, which is the way I tend to do things. Because we've got to think about shape and form all the time, haven't we? We really have. Right, well that's the end of part 1. I'll see you again in part 2 when we paint that lovely, stunning eye. And you'll find that link right this minute on the screen and also in the description down below this video. I'll see you there.